Welcome on into the Thursday edition here of Wager Talk Extra. I'm your host, Dan Alexander, alongside Andy Lang and Adam Trigger today, reminding you no matter what sport you're cashing in on, that money all's going to spend the same. We got a little auto racing for you. No F1 this weekend, but Andy Lang going to break down the road course in Sonoma to lead us off here. And he promised me it may even be shorter than the Fast Five that we break down on the UFC edition. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss any of our shows here at Wager Talk Extra. But that's good because, as I mentioned, Adam Trigger going to be joining us at the end of the show. He's going to be breaking down Korean baseball as only he can, war and peace style. So let's welcome in Andy Lang and get into this road course. It's Sonoma, it's NASCAR action, and I guess we'll start how we always like by starting with looking back. This was not a road course, but Stenhouse, I think we're even going to potential F1 in this one, right, Andy?
I mean, every time you think the Ferrari team in Formula One can't screw up anymore in the pits, they're like, hold my beer. I mean, they had Charles Leclerc pitting, I don't know how many times. It certainly might have been a Formula One record. Just different tires. The hard tires that they were using should have lasted 30 or 40 laps. If they start off the race on, they come in and pit in 17 laps. It made no sense. And Charles Leclerc is losing his mind. And then the cherry on top was towards the end, there's only 17 laps to go in the race, which means you're coming in for soft tires, maybe medium, but you're definitely not coming in for hard tires. They come over the radio and they tell Charles Leclerc to pit and to put on hard tires. And Leclerc says, no, we're going to soft tires. There's only 17 laps left. So they make Charles Leclerc pull in. And as he's pulling into his pit box, they just come over the radio and say, we're going to hards. They just lied to him. They suckered him into coming into the pits. I don't even think he would have actually come into the pits if he knew they were actually going to put hard tires. They literally tricked their own driver into putting on the worst tires in that situation. Made no sense. Absolutely no reason to put on hards. You go for soft tires. Ferrari just continues to disappoint. And every morning that we have a Formula One race and Ferrari does something stupid, Twitter is the best place to be to watch the Ferrari fans just lose their minds. It's absolutely great. So yes, we're calling this race Tiregate because at one point we were joking that. At one point, we were joking that they were probably going to have to borrow tires from another pit because they just kept bringing them in for these different tires. Made no sense whatsoever. I feel bad for Charles Leclerc. Would have to deal with those knuckleheads at Ferrari.
Wow. So wasn't there that movie like Ford versus Ferrari, and this is just Ferrari versus Ferrari drivers?
They're their own worst enemy, Dan.
It's absurd. That is wild. And yeah, Twitter is always a buzz following that one. And make sure you follow Andy on Twitter at Bump Sports, especially if you're a fan of The Price is Right. Nobody breaks it down like Andy Lang breaks it down at Bump Sports. All right, let's turn the page. Look at this weekend. It's Sonoma, and you can throw up, Eric, show them this track because this is the NASCAR only turns left crowd. This is giving me a headache even looking at this road course, Andy. So quite different than what maybe casual fans of auto racing are familiar with when they hear the word NASCAR.
Yeah, it's the most beautiful track that they're going to race. I mean, the most photogenic. It really is cool to watch the racing in Sonoma. You've got desert. You've got just different parts of the track that are just really photogenic. If there is one track in NASCAR that can look a little bit like Formula One as far as being picturesque, this is it. So it's a great track. A lot of really good passing opportunities. The restart at Sonoma is always a blast. They're flying into those first couple corners. You see turns 1, 2, and 3 all getting set up there for that fourth turn there. That's where you see a lot of passing. So Sonoma is always a great one. And listen, when we're talking about road courses, the suspects are very limited as to who's going to win. Chase Elliott is returning off of suspension. He's got to be the favorite. But then you've also got some guys like Kyle Larson is always great at tracks. Kyle Busch has had really good success at tracks. Martin Truex has had really good success at road courses. I took the average finishes for the last 2 races here where they were racing in this new car, looked at what the average finishes were at Sonoma. Number 1 is Chase Elliott. Average finish is 5th in those couple races. Next, we got Daniel Suarez at 6.5, Ross Chastain at 7, Kyle Larson at 8, Ryan Blaney, who's been running really good. He's at 8th. And then I do have to mention Chris Buescher. He's always kind of slept on and really good value here if you play seasonal fantasy, if you're doing DFS. Chris Buescher is also a good one to put at road courses. So Michael McDowell is another one that if he has any type of luck at road courses, it's normally bad luck. But if he stays clean and keeps his car clean, he's a really good sleeper for a road course. So you can kind of look at him. There's a couple guys that really struggle. Bubba Wallace is traditionally terrible at this course in particular. His average finish last 2 times is 25th. Tyler Reddick is a really, really good road course driver. When you look at his average finish here, it's 27th the last 2 times. Don't be worried about that. He's going to be one of the top guys. Also, very important. Can't give out super strong picks right now because we have to see qualifying. Qualifying is really important on the road courses. The great drivers are going to be able to move through the field pretty quick. But if you're not one of the elite drivers and you qualify in the back or in the middle, you're probably not going to be moving somewhere. So this is one track where qualifying is very important to look at before we place our bets.
Absolutely. So definitely keep an eye out and check out that qualifying. But I guess before things get started, you have any best bet that you can maybe throw the way of the folks that might have a little bit of value before we know that qualifying?
Yeah, absolutely. One guy that I really like, who kind of flies under the radar, is Austin Cindric. Having a miserable year. He's not very good on some of the bigger tracks, but he does know how to race on the road courses. He finished 6th at the road course earlier this year. The last time he raced here at Sonoma, he finished 5th, and you can get him at a top 10 finish at -125. That is a really, really good price. And this is one bet that I would sprinkle now because if Cindric qualifies inside the top 10, that -125 is going to be gone. That's going to be closer to a -140 or a -150. So we're getting great value on Cindric just because he does not have very good finishes this year. But road courses are a little bit different. This is also a track where AJ Allmendinger, a road course specialist, is going to thrive. So you really got to know who the road course specialists are. And Austin Cindric is one of them. Really like this bet.
I love it, Andy. So we got Cindric in the top 10. Grab it before it moves. When people head on over to your page at WagerTalk.com, what kind of stuff are they going to see locked and loaded? And you have any promo for the folks as we head towards the weekend?
Yeah, every Friday we have the same promo code, Andy3, get you 3-day pass for $39. How good was this pass last weekend? Well, plus 36 units. I wish we could deliver that and promise that every weekend, but if we could get even halfway to that total, Dan, that would be great. So that code will get you everything on the weekend. We've got PFL, UFC. We've also got auto racing as well as lacrosse. We'll have MLB, and if we have any plays in NBA or NHL, those will be up as well. Promo code ANDY3, ANDY3. Get your 3-day pass for $39. We run this every Friday, and it's been a really big hit since we started doing this.
Andy, I'll do my best to get you some more lacrosse winners for that
Yes.
insane unit pickup we had this last weekend. Fingers crossed, 3-0. We'll try and keep it on rolling. But he's Andy Lang, and we're gonna step aside here on WagerTalk Extra. And coming up next year, we got Adam Trigger. So don't drink any warm milk before you step aside here. We'll be right back. Adam Trigger, KBO, right here on WagerTalk Extra. What's a better way to end the week than with my man Adam Trigger getting us some KBO action? It's both of our first true loves from Asian baseball today, back in the day. And Adam Trigger is back with us as we don't have Kyle Anthony talking some UFC this week. So it's your benefit. We're going to get some KBO winners. Trig, always good to see you, my man. Let's start with a little preview of what you think might be taking place this weekend. It's great because people will get some actionable info to use all weekend long. You wanted to take a look at a series that maybe on paper seems like Samsung is punching up at Lotte, as Samsung's one of the bottom 4 teams, Lotte one of the top 4 teams. So does the paper matchup kind of match how you're going to be betting this one and what you expect we see from a line perspective in this series?
So, Dan, I chose this series for the series preview, not because I have a play, but I feel like there's the most moving parts. So it's going to be relevant into the weekend. So you're going to probably have to find your own play here, but I'm going to give you a lot of info for you to do that. And I'm going to tell you what I'm looking for in this series to potentially make a play. So off the top, we've got some injury concerns. The first is pretty known at this point. Well, if you follow the league, you got Jaewoo Koo for Samsung. He's one of their best outfielders, hits near the top of the order. He's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks with a hamstring injury. He's been out, roughly a week now. So you're looking at probably another 6 weeks there. That's a big injury for Samsung. The one that is not super really known, even for myself, what's going on is going to be David Buchanan. So he has some sort of a hand injury, but they don't really announce the starting pitchers like early like they do for Major League Baseball. So I was kind of expecting that we might see him today. He's supposed to pitch this weekend. He's not pitching on Friday, so I'll be sort of looking to see if if he's lined up for a start this weekend. If he's not, then there's probably going to be a good place to play against Samsung. So for Friday's game, I would have to lean towards Samsung or pass. The reason being, now I'm going to say I want to just kind of make something clear. I want to play against Samsung right now. So the best spot in this series will ultimately be a spot to play on Lotte. That being said, the worst spot for Lotte is going to be Friday. The reason being, Lotte played a 12-inning game with KT on Thursday, and they cooked their bullpen. Used every viable option out of the bullpen possible, and now they're gonna come in to this game on Friday with no bullpen. And Samsung, while their bullpen isn't great and it isn't deep, they got killed on Thursday. So they've got, any top arm they want ready to go. Another reason that Friday, if you like Samsung at all, the spot to back them probably is Friday. You got Tae-In Wan on the mound, who's one of Samsung's better starters. And even though Guan An Na for Lotte has been decent, he's a right-handed pitcher, and Samsung tends to hit right-handed pitching far better than left-handed pitching. So the play on Friday for me would actually be Samsung or pass. I'm hoping, Dan, that Samsung wins on Friday, because if they do, I think it's going to really set up nicely to jump in with Lotte to bounce back over the weekend. Now, Lotte was just swept by KT, so they're really and you said it at the top, they're a better team. Like, that's no secret at this point. But there's a couple things I'm going to be looking for Lotte to jump in. Now, Zach Rex, their import player, he sat yesterday. He just came back from an injury. I guess the knee that he kept him out for a while was acting up, but he did pinch hit in yesterday's game. So I'll be interested to see if he's back in the lineup on Friday, DHing, what have you. But if he's suddenly out on Friday, that's concerning, because that might mean he's headed back to the IL. As far as the weekend's concerned, what I think you need to look for is the pitching for Samsung. So you've got Albert Suarez, who will pitch on Saturday or Sunday. He's definitely going to make a start this weekend. What I'll be interested to see is who Lotte goes with in that scenario. If it's Hun-Hee Han, who's lined up to start, or if they try to call up and mix things up and put a left-handed pitcher out there, because their Sunday starter, Lotte, Si-Woon Park, he's been great, but he's always struggled in the Tuesday, Sunday, same start, same week type role. So I'm really interested to see what Lotte is going to do with their starting pitching. So in summary, Friday's side here would have to be Samsung, just based on how they come in and how Lotte comes in. But I'm not in love with fading Lotte right now, because they come in off getting swept. What I'm hoping happens here is that Samsung gets the W on Friday, and they do so by burning through some of their bullpen arms, because I think that will end up setting up really nicely for Lotte over the weekend. And you might see Lotte, like, let's say David Buchanan does come back and make the start. Well, you're going to get a good number on Lotte, because ultimately Samsung's going to have their two top starters over the weekend. If they can't go with Buchanan, it's going to be some scrub for Samsung, in which case it would probably be a great spot to play against, because Samsung just does not have another starter that's comparable. So once if they have to skip someone's start, Dan, they have to throw someone out there that just is not a starting caliber pitcher in this league. So Friday, I'm looking towards Samsung. Saturday, Sunday, I'm hoping it plays out that I have a good spot with Lotte because I think that will be a great opportunity for the Giants to get back in the win column.
Now, before we get to your best bet, I did just want to follow up on that and just wonder if we do see one of those advantageous pitching matchups for Lotte, if Samsung does have to, as you put it, throw a scrub out there. Do you ever get much into playing the team total overs? Because I know there is a decent prop market across FanDuel, across DraftKings that you're able to get down on some of these team totals. Like if we get a nice number because maybe they're not realizing how that's set up, would you look towards a team total, or are you more just like, hey, let's play the side? I think it fits into the handicap a lot better than relying on them stacking up some runs.
I mean, Dan, team totals in this league are great. I don't give them out as client plays because they're very hard to find. Like you've got to have one of a few sites to find KBO team totals, and not everyone can get down on those. So I'm never going to give those out. I have too many. There's too many people follow the info to give them out as client plays. But you make a great point. Like this will be if you monitor this stuff closely, team totals can be a great way to go. Even for Friday, like Samsung team total over for the full game for Friday's game is probably a good bet because they do hit right-handed pitching and they will absolutely get cracks at some of the lesser bullpen guys for Lotte. I can just about guarantee it. So that's another way to look at Friday's game is Samsung team total over if your book offers it.
Beautiful. Love that breakdown from you. That's Samsung and Lotte. If you do have some KBO fans here in the comments, let us know what you're going to be eyeing in this series or any going this weekend. He also was giving you the look for Friday morning there as well. All right, best bet. So we got Kia, we got Doosan, and I'm wondering how Adam Trigger says, well, this is how we're going to bet this one. What do you think, Trig?
Yeah, so this is going to be a client play for me. I just decided that a few minutes ago. I had a feeling it would be, but I'm gonna get there with this one. So Kia, even money. I would be shocked if this stays even money. It's probably going to go to -105, -110. That's still fine. But I'm going to come in with the Kia Tigers here and play a situation that's been extremely profitable for me over the past couple weeks. So the Doosan Bears have a big time sort of issue right now with their pitching rotation. Guac Bean, who's been one of the breakout starters in this league this year, went back on the IL last week with a back injury. And Dylan File, who was supposed to be one of Doosan's import starters, he got hit in the head with a line drive in the spring, took some time for him to get back, then got a late start to the season, went back on the IL with an injury, and it was just reported yesterday that Doosan is going to release Dylan File. What that means, Dan, is they're cutting ties with him so they can go out and get another import pitcher. But what that means for the time being is essentially Doosan's got 3 starting pitchers. And these teams play 6 games a week, and they've got 3 starting pitchers. So that's going to be an issue for Doosan because their bullpen is not great. And what they've been trying to do is just sort of like go bullpen games, or they'll throw a starter that's just not very good out there and try to get through a game. And it actually worked earlier this week against Hanwha. They managed to sweep Hanwha with 2 sort of like bullpen type starter guys from the Futures League. They swept Hanwha, but unfortunately, Dan, all 3 of those games were close games. If you go back to yesterday's game, Raul Alcantara saved the bullpen for Doosan, but they still needed to bring in their closer for the second day in a row, Jun-Hai Hong, and he gave up 3 straight hits. They had to yank him from the game. That's not a great sign. You have a closer that pitched back-to-back days that got pulled from a save opportunity for someone else to get out of the game. Usually that says you need a day off. So they might be without him here. And of course, Doosan is still without Chiol Won Jeong, who was one of the guys that got suspended for the drinking in the World Baseball Classic scenario. So he could be back this weekend, but he definitely wasn't back yesterday if they didn't use him, because they would have probably gone to him to close that game. So that's something where they might be holding off until next week. But it's very notable. So what you're going to have here for Doosan, is a guy by the name of Dongju Kim, young kid in this league. He's put really good numbers up so far this year. He's the starting pitcher. But what I've noticed with Kim, and it's been extremely profitable for me so far, I've played it in every single spot, is he's really a two-pitch pitcher. He was a guy that was in the bullpen last year. He's had success as a starter unless he's facing a team that's getting to see him now for the second time. So 3 teams have now seen Kim for the second time. Kim is 0-3 in those games, and he's not made it past the 5th inning. And in 2 of them, he was knocked out in like the 3rd or the 4th with significant damage. This will be Kia's second look at Dongju Kim. The first time they saw him, Kim shut him out for 7 innings. It's probably why Doosan is a favorite here. But I'm willing to play against that because I think teams are starting to figure him out, and he has yet to develop a third pitch. So it's really, you get guy with 2 pitches, second, third time through the order, that tends to be an issue. And if you have to go to Doosan's bullpen early, as we've already talked about, that's going to be an issue. On the other side here, you've got Adonis Medina for Kia. He's one of their import starters. He got off to a very slow start, was knocked around for most of April, but he's been better of late. I think he's starting to turn a corner a little bit. A couple quality starts in his last couple weeks here. And he's pitched well against Doosan. Now, this will be his 3rd outing against Doosan, and he's had 2 pretty respectable outings against them and lost both of them. Probably a little harsh for him to have lost both of those starts because he was good. Certainly good enough, like quality start type starts, good enough to get a win. So I'm going to, Kia comes in on 3 straight losses, just got swept by SSG. They didn't use up their bullpen yesterday, which is key because Kia's bullpen's got like 2 or 3 stud arms down there at the front end of their bullpen, and all should be good to go here. So to top it off, Dan, this game's going to be played at Jamsil Baseball Stadium in Seoul, so it's a road game for Kia, but Kia gets excellent fan support in the Seoul area. Kia is located in Guangzhou, but they travel extremely well. And I think they have a lot of fans that have probably relocated to Seoul, the capital of the country. So they always kind of show out for these games at Jamsil against either LG or Doosan. So it all sort of adds up here for me, Dan. I think you're getting the better starter right now. I think Medina's sort of on the uptick. Dongju Kim, as good as he's been, once the league starts to see him a couple times, he's going to start getting knocked around. And as I said, he's already 0-3 in facing a team for the second time. So I took Kia even money. I thought they were unlucky to not get a win against SSG in that series earlier this week. And I think they'll make amends this weekend, starting on Friday, with a win in this series opening game.
Bang. Trig giving you a client play there, looking towards the even money dog, and giving him the whole kitchen sink as well, breaking down the matchup as Trig is known to do. Trig, what do you have up over at WagerTalk? We're recording here on a Thursday. For what it's worth, it is Throwback Thursday at WagerTalk.com. You got anything locked and loaded for the clients? Or, as you were struggling with the morning from hell, are you taking Teddy Covers' advice from WagerTalk today and just doing a pass today? What do you got over at WagerTalk?
Dan, I've never let something that comes up in life force me to pass on a game. So if I have a play, It will be up. Now, Major League Baseball today, I got smoked out in DC, Dan. I had the Nationals plus 1.5, and that game was called off. I haven't added anything yet for MLB for the night slate, but I could. And I just gave you the only thing that I was going to put up for sale. I just said, you know what? We're doing WagerTalk Extra. Let's give the people what they want. So my 4%, the only 4% I've played for Friday morning so far in KBO, which I actually still need to load into the system, is going to be Kia on the money line. What I would say is the 30-day special is fantastic. It's still up. It gets you 30 days at a discount. And I always preach long-term. Over the last 365, I'm number 1 at WagerTalk. So, the long-term stuff tends to pan out. And Dan, let's just be honest. Like, I had a huge college basketball season, a huge March. April, May kind of scuffled a little bit for me. I was negative in KBO until recently. Finally got sort of over had a nice run to get myself over the hump there. I'm 5-1 in my last 6 MLB plays. So I like to think I'm headed in that same direction for Major League Baseball as well. So I think the 30-day special, which gets you, June into July, a full month of MLB and KBO is a great deal. And I expect it to be a profitable 30 days.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, even with that slump, still number one. So you come at the king, you better not miss. That's the nature of the industry. There will be ebbs, there will be flows, and that is why we practice that great bankroll management and why we rate our plays the way that we do. Never more than 5% of your bankroll in play on a single play, and that's what leaves Adam Trigger, even with some slumps, as number one, sitting atop the leaderboards in the last 365 at WagerTalk.com. Trig, always a pleasure, my man. I'm hoping that all the bad things have gotten out of your way. It's only good luck from here on out. All the negative, the yin and the yang, just means a hell of a run is incoming for my man, Adam Trigger. So big thanks to Trig. Big thanks to Andy Lang and the production team doing a terrific job bringing you content around the clock here at Wager Talk TV. I've been your host, Dan Alexander, and we'll be back here on Wager Talk Extra, cashing in on those extra sports every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday right here on Wager Talk TV.